Is wearing a prosthetic nose anti-Semitic? Should public transportation be banned on the Sabbath in Israel? What happens when a Holocaust denier challenges an Israeli MMA fighter in the ring? And are you going to Sadie Sandler's Bat Mitzvah this weekend, or going to see Helen Mirren as Golda Meir? We're covering all that and more in today's episode, so let's unpack. In this seemingly never-ending slew of protests in Israel lately, a not-so-new issue is further dividing citizens and sparking fierce debate. Protesters in Gush Dan, the metropolitan area that encompasses Tel Aviv and is home to more than 4 million people, handcuffed themselves to the inside of a train last week in opposition to the country's ban on public transportation on Shabbat. This has been a long-standing debate that boils down to the balance Israel faces with what it means to be a Jewish state and a democratic state. On one hand, allowing buses and trains to operate on Shabbat provides accessibility and inclusivity to non-Jews and Jewish people who don't observe Shabbat. Not to mention enabling those with essential jobs or medical needs to travel without restrictions. Limiting access to public transportation on Shabbat also has an impact on tourism, which is essential to Israel's economy. But it's not just a matter of economics, there are global factors to consider as well, like decreased traffic and pollution. The debate also raises ethical issues surrounding labor rights, as transportation workers are required to work on Shabbat. It also potentially exploits low-income workers who might not have a choice but to work on weekends. That all sounds pretty convincing, so what's the other side of the debate? Glad you asked. First and foremost, it comes down to a policy-backed violation of religious observance. Yes, Israel is a democratic state where all citizens can decide their own level of observance. But to allow the government-funded programs to violate such a key tenet of religious practice can be seen as kind of inconsistent with traditional Jewish values. Private citizens are free to do as they please, but the state of Israel is deeply rooted in Jewish values, and it's critical that we protect that tradition. It's important to note that transportation is not intended to operate in religious neighborhoods, only in areas where there is higher demand, like more secular and non-Jewish areas. Ruth Gavison, a prominent legal mind in Israel, has a famous quote: "If Israel is not a Jewish state, it has no reason to exist. And if Israel is not a democratic state, it has no right to exist." Ultimately, this issue goes beyond public transportation policy and highlights the reality that without a constitution, and we made a video about that, check it out, that outlines the role of halakha, of Jewish law, in Israeli law, there will be no permanent solution to the problem. Those on this side of the debate would make the argument that, hey, in places like the United States of America, there are blue laws, you can't do certain things in certain states, and that's part of the legal reality of those states in America. The truth is that this issue has been an issue since before there even was a state of Israel. How do you integrate Jewish law into the state of Israel was a question that existed in 1947. The state of Israel was founded in 1948. A lot to unpack here. What does it mean for Israel to be a Jewish state? Is it that it follows Jewish law? Is it that it follows the rhythms of the Jewish calendar? Is it that the country is infused with Jewish culture, food, music, and language? Let us know what you think in the comments below. In finally something good to report, Israeli MMA fighter Natan Levy called out an internet troll Ben, a supporter of right-wing extremist and Holocaust denier Nick Fuentes, urging him to put his muscles where his mouth is and fight him. Expecting the cyberbully to back out of the bout, Levy was surprised when Ben answered the call, only to find out how strong the Jewish people really are.
Get him! Get him! Hey! Make him squeal! Make him squeal!
While violence is not usually the answer, Natan used this as an opportunity to teach a valuable lesson. Words, even on the internet, have consequences, and if you want to mess with one of the smallest and most hated groups in the world, you better be ready to take the hit. By the end of the fight, Natan did more than show his fighting prowess. He actually helped Ben understand the history and strength of the Jewish people and made Ben think twice before casting judgments on others.
6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust. Murdered in the Holocaust.
Be honest. How did you feel watching Natan beat the ignorance out of Ben? Leave a comment below. And if that wasn't entertaining enough, look out Barbenheimer, because this week's two biggest movies both represent some of the most important women in Jewish history: Golda Meir and Adam Sandler's daughters.
That's for kids. I've had my period for 7 months now.
That's a long period, sweetheart.
Both movies follow their protagonists through pivotal parts in their life. You're So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah is being hailed by critics and fans alike as an amazing coming-of-age comedy that speaks to a much wider audience than just those who have been to a bat mitzvah. And on the other side of the film spectrum, we have Helen Mirren starring in director Guy Nativ's critically acclaimed biopic Golda, which tells the intimate story of Israel's first and only female prime minister. Which movie are you seeing first? Are you getting dressed up for the bat mitzvah of the year? Or will you be diving deeper into one of Israel's historical icons, Golda Meir? Let us know in the comments. Let's move on to our next segment. Is it anti-Semitic? Yep, you guessed it. We're talking about Bradley Cooper and the prosthetic nose he wears in his upcoming film Maestro about legendary composer and conductor Leonard Bernstein that some on the internet are calling an anti-Semitic trope. I'll admit, I'm sensitive to anti-Semitism and think it must be taken seriously, but is this really anti-Semitic? Let's unpack. Leonard Bernstein, like Bradley Cooper, was known as a handsome and successful man, but Leonard's nose was bigger than Bradley's, which is why Cooper wears a prosthetic nose in the film. So why is a fake nose such a big deal? Well, it's not about the nose as much as what it represents. Every ethnic group has distinct features. For Ashkenazi Jews, one of those features is sometimes, not always, a prominent nose. For anti-Semites, it's seen as a detestable feature that has sadly become a point of shame and embarrassment for many Jews in the diaspora. Much like the minstrel shows of the past where blackface was used to culturally appropriate African-American stereotypes, the Jewish nose is seen by many as a way to stereotype Jews and has even been used as anti-Jewish propaganda. After seeing that image, you might think having a prosthetic nose is just another example of Jew face, but not so fast. Cooper's character is not a generic portrayal of a rabbi or a Jewish man who lived in a previous decade. It is a real-life individual human who also happens to be Jewish and has the nose to boot. This is important because it's not about a generic trope. It's a historical recreation of someone specific, and that person happened to have a larger, more recognizable nose. Listen, I'm a huge fan of education and knowledge, and if you want some historical context, check out Unpacked's episode on Jewish noses. It's a great place to get an education on the topic. This specific story points to a larger question about cultural appropriation. Should Jewish actors only be allowed to play historically Jewish characters? What is too far when an actor is meant to portray someone from a different culture? Does intent matter? With issues like these, there's no clear-cut consensus on whether or not the decision for Cooper to wear the nose was the right move. But we want to hear from you. Does this pass the smell test? Do you think this is the type of anti-Semitism that we should care about, worry about? Or is this actually bringing Jewish cultural figures into the forefront without hiding who they really were and what they really look like? Let us know in the comments below. I'm not going to tell you what to think, but here's one thing I am thinking about. For those who are upset about the prosthetic nose, I get it, I feel you, I'm there, I am. But I really, really care about fighting anti-Semitism, educating about anti-Semitism, curing anti-Semitism, heck, ending anti-Semitism. And if we're going to work to make that happen, then let's focus on the big items. The synagogues who have been getting bomb threats, observably Orthodox Jews who are being attacked regularly in major cities like New York, and the obsessive demonization of the Jewish state. Noses? But maybe I'm wrong.